Hello everyone, my name is Hugh Lu, wild blueberry specialist with Perennia Food and Agriculture Corporation. Today we are going to talk about soil and tissue sampling in wild blueberries, why they are important, and how to take samples correctly and precisely. Samples and the analytical results of wild blueberry tissues and soils are used to adjust and determine the fertility program for wild blueberry management. Growers might see short vines, low density of blueberry plants, and ultimately low yields if there's not enough fertilizer input. On the opposite, we also observe tall vines and overgrowers, as well as higher disease and weed pressures in fields where too much fertilizer is placed. A good fertilizer program is an important step in keeping soil health and optimizing crop yield and quality. It also offers environmental benefits, and that's what we're going to talk about today: soil and tissue sampling in wild blueberry production. So there are a lot of information out there, including fact sheets, videos talking about how to do tissue and soil sampling in different cropping systems. But today we are going to focus on wild blueberries, and we are going to teach you some hands-on techniques and important points to note when you are taking samples precisely and efficiently. Okay, before we start, I want to introduce Tobias Corbin, who is a new wild blueberry grower in the Colchester area, Nova Scotia. And I want to bring growers' perspective into this discussion, as we always hear some good questions from them.
Hi, my name is Tobias. I'm very happy to be here with you and his presentations and his trials that he's doing on my land.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Tobias. Thanks for taking the time and now allowing us to use your field to do this little research. So tell me, why do you want to, do this sampling for tissue and soil in your field?
As a new grower, I feel it's very important to understand the process of fertility management and the aspects of growing to which I don't necessarily understand. So using resources such as Perennia, local growers, and online extensions like the University of Maine's Blueberry Extension
Yeah.
is a key part of me understanding how the process works. Without those things, I'm really flying by the seat of my pants, which isn't necessarily the best option for anybody. It's better to have resources such as yourself available so that I can better understand the process.
Okay, and just give us a quick information on before you do the sampling last year. What kind of information do you have, and what kind of challenges do you see are facing, and you wish to know more
Sure.
for next year to do the sampling?
Well, when I did my sampling last year, the information that I got was from the Harlow Lab in Truro. Based on their fact sheet, I used that information to figure out how to do the sampling. At the same time, I've never done soil sampling before, so I really had no idea what I was doing. So, really, I was making it up as I went. Whether or not I did a good job is kind of to be determined, and you can kind of critique me on what I did last year today, I think.
Yeah, sounds like we have a lot to learn today, and that's what we're going to focus today is to make sure growers know how to do sampling correctly, because it's important. When you get a result, you want to make sure those results are precise for you to determine the fertility program for your field.
Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin McCaver. I am the soil specialist at Perennia Food and Agriculture Corporation. And today we're going to talk about how to properly take a soil sample on your blueberry fields. So before we get into how we take a soil sample, I want to talk about why taking a soil sample is important. So a soil sample can give you information about the relative availability of nutrients in your soil so that you can make informed decisions about applying amendments. This can help cut your input costs and can help avoid either over or under applying amendments on your field. It can also give you information about your soil, such as the pH and the cation exchange capacity. So there are a few different tools you can use when soil sampling. So the first one is a soil probe. So you can just step on the soil probe and it goes directly into the soil. And this is available from Perennia or at your local Nova Scotia Department of Agriculture office. The second tool you can use is an auger. This one specifically is a Dutch auger. And this one's commonly used in soil that's a little bit harder to get through. So if you have higher rock content in your soil, it may be a little bit easier to get that through. Third, you can use a shovel. So this is a shovel with a spade head, but you can also use a shovel with a square head. And the biggest thing you want to look out for here is if you're taking a sample with this type of shovel, you want to square off the edges so that it's uniform throughout your entire sample. Other than that, you're going to want a clean bucket and either a garden trowel or just use your hands. And you're going to want either a box, a sampling box, or some plastic bags to put your sample in afterwards. And you can get the sampling box again from Perennia or from the Nova Scotia Department of Agriculture lab. So next I'm going to show you how to take a soil sample from one spot. And so in a blueberry field specifically, you're going to have the very top layer is going to be a high organic matter layer. So you actually want to scrape that off, or else your results will likely show higher organic matter than what's actually representative in the mineral soil. And so you want to scrape off the first about 2 to 3 inches depending on your field and get down to the mineral soil. There. And the organic soil will typically be a bit darker than your mineral soil, so you can kind of differentiate that way. Good to go. So with the probe, you want to take a sample about 15 centimeters deep. The probes are typically 30 centimeters. Some of them will have a mark at 15 centimeters. Otherwise, you're going to want to measure it beforehand and make a mark yourself, or it's about approximately halfway to the probe. So you just in and... So this is what you kind of want about halfway up the soil probe, 15 centimeters, and you may want to change the depth of sampling depending on what your goal is. So if you want to get a deeper profile of the soil, you want to take like a 0 to 15 centimeter and then potentially a 15 to 30 centimeter sample. And then so after you take this, you put it in your bucket and combine it with all the other soil cores you take within one field to get a composite sample. You are sampling an entire field. You want to take approximately 15 to 20 of these core samples at random spots throughout the field. You place them all in the bucket, and once you're in the bucket, you want to break up any clods of soil and mix it all together to form one composite sample. And then after that, you take your sampling box or your bag and put approximately 2 cups into the box or bag to be sent to the lab. So some other things to consider is you probably don't want to sample during or directly after a heavy rain. You also want to sample at relatively the same time every year that you sample. So generally you want to sample at a 2 to 3 year interval. However, you may want to increase that sampling frequency if you're having issues in the field. And the more you sample, the better, really, the more you get to know your field. There's no perfect time of the year to sample. However, many producers like to sample in the fall because it gives them time to plan for their spring fertility. The biggest thing is that you sample at the same time because there is seasonal variability within the field. Especially in blueberry fields, oftentimes they can be rocky and have higher sand content, so the variability throughout the season can potentially be higher.
The leaf tissue analysis will provide a status of the nutrient content in blueberry plants. The status of essential plant nutrients will simply tell if plants are taking up enough nutrients during the season. The analytical lab will provide a report with the status of elements, and those analytical numbers can be compared to the standards used in Nova Scotia, which are shown in this table. By comparing your numbers to the standards, you will be able to tell if those important elements are in the optimal range.
So the next big question to answer is when to sample blueberry tissues.
So in wild blueberry production, standards has been established for the vegetation year of the growing cycle, when the nutrient levels are most stable and thus in the tip dieback stage. Tip dieback stage is when the newly emerged sprout stems stop elongating and the growing tip turns brown and black. When the sprout field reaches 90% of the tip dieback stage, it is a good time to take leaf samples. Sampling should occur during dry weather. Collecting the right sample size is another important thing to note when planning a leaf tissue sampling in wild blueberry fields. There are two important and direct reasons why sampling size is important. The first one is the requirement from laboratory services as they need large enough sample to grant into a testing sample for further analysis. The second reason is to gather enough samples to represent the whole field plant nutrient status, considering that wild blueberry fields are normally in a large acreage scale. It can be as small as a few acreage or more than 50 acres on average in many commercial wild blueberry fields in Nova Scotia. Because of those reasons, we recommend growers collect 15 to 20 stems in every 4 hectare, and that's about 10 acres block. As I mentioned, the size of wild blueberry fields have a big variation and a lot of commercial fields are larger than 10 acres. So we also recommend growers to carefully evaluate their field conditions such as shapes, sizes, and soil properties. Any parts of a field showing unique growing condition should be treated as a separate sampling area. In this table, the suggested number of subsamples based on the field size is shown. The bottom line is that you want to make sure you have a good sample to best represent your field's plant nutrient status and allow the lab to perform correct analysis when there are enough plant tissues to work on. Next, we will talk about sampling patterns. This Google Maps screenshot is a good example of the different shapes and sizes of fields in the blueberry production region. Each field is unique in terms of size and shape. A simple way to follow is to walk in a zigzag pattern, but you want to know the shape and size of the sampling fields first so you can plan better where to go. An easy way to do that is to use the satellite Google Maps. After you have a good idea of your field's conditions, it is just as easy as following a similar pattern to those orange dots. Because each field is unique and has a different spots to watch, it is good to treat spots in different conditions as separate areas, such as low spots, trouble spots, where you have less blueberry coverage, and areas with obvious difference in soil type. You should also avoid sampling areas of severe disease and insect defoliation. Leaf rust, septoria leaf spots, and powder mildew are common leaf diseases around that time of year. You should avoid areas with insect infestations such as blueberry thrips, leaf beetles, and caterpillars feed on leaves. Once the sampling area and clones are selected, you can select a stem randomly and cut them at the soil level. You also want to remove the top and bottom leaves from the selected stem. Strip the rest of the leaves and put them into the sampling bag and discard the stem. Please use a plastic bag to store your sampling leaves. Do not collect samples in paper bags. When sampling is complete, please label the sample properly and get ready to send samples. You can simply type Nova Scotia Department of Agriculture Analytical Lab on Google search. You can find their fee schedule, general sample submission form, and lab contacts. You must complete the submission forms and have complete forms ready to go with your samples. The lab's contact information and mailing address are shown on the left. It is important to send out samples as soon as possible, ideally the same day when you collect samples or next day. Thank you for watching. If you are interested to know more about nutrient management in wild blueberry production, please watch for the next webinar that we will offer. Talk about how to interpret reports and decide what fertilizer program to choose for your wild blueberry fields. Again, thank you for the support from Off-Cap program. See you next time.